1989, a man named Bob Lazar told a Las Vegas news station he'd worked on a craft at a site near Area 51 that didn't use any propulsion system he'd ever studied. No jet exhaust, no rotors, no wings doing any aerodynamic work. The government never confirmed his story. They never denied it either. And then separately, across different countries and different decades, thousands of people started describing the same thing. Silent, massive, triangular, no exhaust trail, no sonic boom. So here's the question that actually matters. What kind of propulsion system could explain any of that? The TR-3B Astra is the name that got attached to a pattern of sightings that started clustering around classified U.S. airspace in the late 1980s. No defense agency has ever put that name on a budget line. No Air Force spokesperson has confirmed the program exists, but the sightings kept coming. And what's strange isn't just the volume of reports, it's how consistent the details are across witnesses who had no connection to each other. People describing what they saw kept landing on the same handful of characteristics. The craft was triangular, it was large. Some accounts put it at the size of a football field. It hovered without any rotor wash disturbing the ground below it. It moved at speed with no sonic boom. And when it accelerated, it didn't do it the way any jet does, with a visible burn and a thrust vector you can follow. It just moved. Now take those witness descriptions and run them against conventional aerospace engineering, and you hit a wall almost immediately. A craft the size of a football field hovering silently isn't something you can explain with rotors. The rotor diameter required would be enormous and the noise would be deafening. You can't explain it with jet thrust either, because jet thrust at that scale produces visible exhaust plumes and enormous heat signatures. And you definitely can't explain sharp right-angle turns at speed with any airframe that relies on aerodynamic surfaces, because the G-forces involved would destroy both the structure and anyone inside it. So the craft either doesn't exist or it runs on something that the public aerospace industry hasn't built yet or hasn't been allowed to talk about building. That second option is where this gets interesting, because when you actually look at the physics involved, the question isn't whether a system like this is theoretically possible. The question is whether someone, working in a classified environment with classified funding, got far enough along the development curve to make it operational. The researchers and analysts who've spent time on this keep arriving at the same two concepts. The first is plasma, specifically superheated plasma, generated from a mercury-based fluid, spinning at extremely high speed inside a sealed ring around the craft's core. The second is gravity, not fighting it with lift and thrust the way every conventional aircraft does, but interacting with it directly, using that plasma field to reduce the craft's apparent gravitational mass before any other propulsion system even has to work. That's the theory. And before you write it off, it's worth knowing that neither of those concepts requires you to invent new physics. Both of them have real, documented scientific foundations that show up in legitimate research going back decades. The plasma part connects to something called magnetohydrodynamics. The gravity part connects to a body of classified and declassified research on electrogravitics that the US military was actively funding in the 1950s before the program records went quiet. What would a system like that actually look like? That's where we're going next. The most specific technical claim attached to the TR-3B isn't vague. It has a name, a mechanism, and enough physical detail that you can actually stress test it against known science. The system is called the magnetic field disruptor, and the core of it is a ring, a toroidal chamber running around the craft's midsection, filled with mercury-based plasma, spinning at extremely high rotational speed. Here's what that actually means. Mercury isn't exotic. It's a liquid metal at room temperature, which already makes it unusual, but it's also one of the most electrically conductive liquids that exist naturally. When you heat mercury into a plasma state and push it through a magnetic field, it doesn't just flow, it responds. The charged particles interact with the field lines, and that interaction generates force. That's not a fringe claim. That's magnetohydrodynamics, a branch of physics with a published research record going back to the mid-20th century. MHD propulsion has been tested in real applications. The Japanese built an experimental ship in the early 1990s called the Yamato one that used seawater as the conductive fluid and electromagnetic force as the drive, with no moving parts. It worked. It was slow and inefficient at that scale, but the underlying principle was sound. What the TR-3B theory proposes is a far more aggressive version of that same principle, not using the fluid to generate thrust directly, but using it to generate a field powerful enough to interfere with the craft's interaction with gravity itself. That's the leap, and it's a significant one. The claim in TR-3B literature is that when the plasma ring reaches sufficient rotational velocity inside the toroidal chamber, the electromagnetic field it produces disrupts the local gravitational field around the craft. Not cancels it, disrupts it. Reduces the effective gravitational mass the craft presents to the surrounding spacetime. The number that gets cited is 89%. The rotating plasma ring, according to this theory, cuts the craft's apparent gravitational mass down to roughly 11% of its actual physical mass. Think about what that does to the propulsion math. You're not trying to lift a football field-sized aircraft anymore. You're trying to move something that, from a gravitational standpoint, weighs about as much as a small car. The three conventional thrusters sitting at the craft's corners, reportedly running on hydrogen and liquid oxygen, aren't doing the heavy work. They're just handling directional movement on top of a gravitational load that's already been almost entirely neutralized. That's why there's no massive exhaust plume. That's why there's no deafening roar. The hard part of flight, fighting gravity, has already been handled before the thrusters even fire. Now, the engineering problems here are real and worth being honest about. Spinning plasma in a stable toroidal configuration is not simple. The energy input required to maintain that kind of rotational velocity in a sealed ring would be enormous. We're talking about a power source well beyond anything in the public aerospace inventory. The plasma has to stay contained, has to stay at the right temperature and pressure, and has to maintain consistent rotational speed or the field collapses. Any instability in the ring means the mass reduction effect degrades, and suddenly you've got a massive aircraft with almost no conventional lift trying to stay airborne. No public laboratory has demonstrated mass reduction through rotating plasma at any scale, let alone at the scale this system would require. That's the honest answer. The MHD physics are real. The specific application the TR-3B theory describes hasn't been proven in any open scientific literature. But that's also exactly what you'd expect if the program existed and was classified. You wouldn't see the results in a journal. You wouldn't see a patent application. You'd see the foundational research up to a certain point, and then you'd see it stop. Not because the science dead-ended, but because someone decided the science was too consequential to leave in public view. Which raises the obvious question, where did this idea actually come from? Because the mercury plasma concept didn't appear out of nowhere in the 1980s. The trail goes back much further than most people expect. The mercury plasma concept has a genealogy, and it doesn't start with American aerospace engineers sitting in a clean room in the 1980s. It starts in wartime Germany with a program so strange that historians still argue about whether it actually existed. The project was called Die Glocke, German for the bell. According to accounts that surfaced after the war, primarily through the work of Polish journalist Igor Witkowski, the device was a bell-shaped structure roughly 9 feet wide, filled with a mercury-like substance called Cerium-525 and subjected to counter-rotating high-voltage fields that caused the fluid to spin in opposite directions simultaneously. Witnesses reportedly described biological effects near the device: plant material decaying rapidly, animals dying. The Nazi scientists running the program apparently called it our most important project. What it was actually supposed to do was never confirmed. Most of the personnel involved were killed before the end of the war, and the device itself disappeared. You can take that account at face value or treat it skeptically. The sourcing is thin and the details are hard to verify. But notice the structure of the claim: rotating mercury-like fluid, high-voltage electromagnetic excitation, an effect on the surrounding environment that goes beyond simple thrust. That's the same structural description that shows up decades later in TR-3B literature. Either the TR-3B theory borrowed from Die Glocke mythology, or both stories are pointing at the same underlying physics from different directions. After the war ended, the US government ran Operation Paperclip, pulling hundreds of German scientists and engineers into American defense programs. Not all of them were rocket engineers. Some were working on propulsion concepts that didn't fit neatly into the conventional aerospace categories of the time. What they brought with them, beyond hardware, was a research culture that was willing to explore the edges of known physics under military funding and military secrecy. That context matters for what happened next. In the early 1950s, an American physicist and inventor named Townsend Brown had already been working for years on something he called electrogravitics. The idea that an asymmetric high-voltage capacitor, charged sufficiently, would produce thrust in the direction of the positive plate with no moving parts and no combustion. He demonstrated it. The effect was real, reproducible, and caught the attention of military researchers. The U.S. Air Force funded studies into it. Aviation industry groups wrote reports on it. And then, around the mid-1950s, all of that public activity stopped. The papers stopped appearing. The funding disappeared from any accessible record. The Biefeld-Brown effect, the name the phenomenon carries in physics literature, didn't get disproven. It just stopped being discussed openly. Small-scale demonstrations of the Biefeld-Brown effect still work today. Hobbyists build lifters, lightweight foil devices that rise off a surface using nothing but high-voltage electrical charge. And they function exactly as the theory predicts. The counter-argument from mainstream physics is that the effect is just ion wind, not true electrogravitic thrust, and that it would be useless in a vacuum. Brown's supporters disagreed, arguing the ion wind explanation didn't hold at higher voltages and in vacuum conditions. That argument never got resolved publicly because the funded research that might have resolved it went somewhere it couldn't be followed. Then there's Ben Rich. He ran Lockheed's Skunk Works program after Kelly Johnson, the division responsible for the U-2, the SR-71, and the F-117. Before he died in 1995, Rich reportedly told a UCLA alumni gathering that Skunk Works had the technology to take ET home and that it would take an act of God to get it declassified. He made similar statements in correspondence. Nobody from Lockheed ever clarified what he meant, and the company never addressed it directly. That's the chain. Unconventional physics demonstrated, funding vanishes, sightings appear, and the people closest to the classified programs hint at something that doesn't fit the public inventory. Strip away the theory and just look at the performance numbers that witnesses consistently describe, and you can work backward to what the craft's operating envelope would have to be. No aerodynamic lift surfaces. That's the starting point. If the plasma field is handling the gravitational load, the airframe doesn't need wings generating lift, which means it also doesn't need the forward speed that wings require to stay airborne. It can hover at 0 knots indefinitely with no rotor and no ground effect because the field is doing the work that lift normally does. The corner thrusters handle where it goes, not whether it stays up. Supersonic flight without a sonic boom follows from the same logic. A sonic boom happens because a moving object compresses the air ahead of it faster than the pressure wave can travel. But if the craft is wrapped in an active electromagnetic field that's already interacting with the surrounding medium, that field changes how the pressure wave forms. The compression still happens, but the shock cone either doesn't fully develop or dissipates before it reaches the ground. Witnesses consistently report no boom. That's one explanation for why. Right-angle turns at speed are the other characteristic that breaks conventional physics. Any aircraft relying on aerodynamic control surfaces has to bank, build centripetal force, and arc through a turn because the airframe and the pilot inside it can only survive so many G-forces. A craft that's already reduced its effective mass by the margins this theory describes doesn't have the same inertia problem. The thrusters redirect, the field adjusts, the craft turns because there's far less mass fighting the direction change. The radar signature works differently too. Conventional stealth uses geometry and radar-absorbent materials to reduce the reflection that comes back to a receiver. A craft enclosed in an active plasma envelope isn't relying on surface materials at all. The plasma itself scatters and absorbs incoming radar energy dynamically. That's not a coating. That's a field that changes based on what's hitting it, which makes it fundamentally harder to design a countermeasure against. Put all of that together and you understand why, If this system works, it never gets officially confirmed. A functioning gravitic propulsion platform makes the entire existing aerospace infrastructure, every fighter, every bomber, every satellite launch vehicle, look like it was built with the wrong assumptions. You don't announce that. You don't even hint at it. You let the sightings pile up and you say nothing, because silence costs you nothing and disclosure costs you everything. The physics isn't impossible. The funding trail is real. The sightings are consistent across decades and continents. And the people who would know aren't talking. That's either the most consequential secret in aerospace history or the most disciplined silence ever maintained around something that doesn't exist. A $35,000 drone has changed the course of modern warfare in ways few anticipated. Iran spent years developing a weapon that struck fear across the Middle East. Affordable, relentless, and deployed in overwhelming numbers. Then the United States executed an unprecedented strategy. It captured the very same drone, rebuilt it, stamped it, made in America, and turned it against its creators. How can a nation's own weapon be used against it? And what does this mean for the future of war? Join us as we reveal how the United States just cloned Iran's most feared drone and how it changes everything. For years, the United States military operated with one unspoken assumption, that raw technological superiority would always be enough. The idea that a drone costing roughly the same as a used car could challenge that dominance seemed almost laughable. America had stealth fighters that cost over $100 million each. It had cruise missiles that could thread a window from 1,000 miles away. It had aircraft carriers that projected power across entire oceans. The notion that a cheap, propeller-driven flying bomb could threaten any of that seemed almost absurd. Then came the Shahed. Iran's Shahed 136 is not an impressive machine on paper. It is a delta-winged, propeller-driven drone with a small warhead and no pilot. It does not evade radar with cutting-edge stealth coatings. It does not fire back when attacked. It flies relatively slowly, at low altitude, guided by GPS coordinates to a pre-programmed target. And when it arrives, it explodes. That is the entire concept. There is no recovery. There is no second mission. The drone is the weapon, and the weapon is expendable. And yet this relatively unsophisticated drone did something that billion-dollar weapon systems could not. It broke the economics of modern air defense. And once it broke them, nothing in the calculus of modern warfare was ever quite the same again. To understand why the Shahed was so strategically disruptive, you have to understand how air defense economics work. Every air defense system operates on a basic principle. The cost of intercepting an incoming threat must be justified by the value of what you are protecting. For most of military history, that equation made sense. Incoming missiles and aircraft were expensive to build and operate, so spending $1 million to shoot one down was rational. The attacker was losing something valuable every time they fired. The defender was spending money, but so was the attacker. The Shahed shattered that logic completely. When Russia began deploying Iranian-supplied Shahed drones against Ukraine in massive numbers, Western defense analysts watched in quiet horror. Not because the drones were destroying targets with pinpoint precision, but because of what it was costing to stop them. Ukraine and its allies were firing Patriot interceptors worth over $1 million each to destroy drones that cost somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000 to build. The attacker was spending a fraction of what the defender was spending. Every single engagement was a financial victory for Iran and Russia, regardless of whether the drone hit its target or not. The Shahed did not need to be accurate. It needed to be plentiful. And it was. Thousands of them were produced, deployed, and launched, attacking from multiple directions simultaneously. They flew at night to complicate visual detection. They flew low to complicate radar detection. They forced defenders to make impossible choices at every engagement. Exhaust your interceptor stockpile or let them through and accept the damage. Either way, the attacker benefits. This was the strategic lesson that shook every major military on Earth. The United States military studied this lesson very carefully. Defense analysts wrote about it. Think tanks published reports on it. The War Zone, one of the most respected military publications in the country, had been arguing for years that America needed to be building tens of thousands of Shahed clones immediately. The logic was simple and uncomfortable. If this strategy works against us and our allies, we need to be able to use it too. And we need to be able to use it at scale. And then America did exactly that. The low-cost, uncrewed combat attack system, known as LUCAS, is the American answer to the Shahed 136. And the connection between the two is not subtle or theoretical. It is direct, deliberate, and openly acknowledged. American officials have described the process without apology. The United States captured one of Iran's Shahed drones, extracted its internal components, sent them back to engineers in the United States, rebuilt the system from the ground up using American manufacturing and American technology, added significant upgrades, and then deployed it against the very country that designed the original. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper put it in terms that left no room for interpretation. He told reporters that the United States captured the Iranian drone, pulled the guts out, sent it back to America, put a Made in America stamp on it, brought it back, and started shooting it at the Iranians. That is not a paraphrase. That is the admiral in charge of the entire Iran campaign, describing the program with remarkable candor at a press conference in Tampa, Florida. The drones are manufactured by SpectreWorks, a company based in Phoenix, Arizona. Each unit costs approximately $35,000. A Tomahawk cruise missile costs between $2 million and $2.5 million per shot. An air-launched cruise missile currently in service costs over $1 million. For the price of a single Tomahawk, the United States can now field over 50 LUCAS drones. But LUCAS is not simply a cheaper version of America's existing weapons. It represents a fundamentally different philosophy about what a weapon is supposed to be and how it is supposed to be used. Traditional American military doctrine has always been built around the principle of preservation. The entire procurement culture of the American military is built around the idea that each platform is a precious, irreplaceable asset. LUCAS, however, inverts that logic entirely. These drones are designed from the start to be expended. They are not supposed to come back. The goal is to produce them so quickly and so cheaply that losing one in combat is strategically irrelevant. Defense planners call this concept attritable systems, platforms that are deliberately designed and accepted to be used up in combat. It is a radical departure from how the United States has approached weapons procurement for generations, and it reflects a hard-won recognition that in a conflict against an adversary willing to absorb enormous losses, the ability to match volume matters as much as the ability to field superior technology. The upgrades that America added on top of the Iranian original make LUCAS significantly more capable than the weapon it was modeled after. The differences are not cosmetic, they are operationally transformative. Where the Shahed 136 flies a fixed GPS route to a pre-programmed coordinate and strikes whatever happens to be there when it arrives, LUCAS operates in an entirely different tactical dimension. Multiple LUCAS drones can communicate with each other while airborne. They can share sensor data, coordinate their approach vectors, and adjust their targeting based on what other units in the swarm are detecting in real time. This is autonomous cooperative behavior among multiple drones executing a shared mission. Some units in the fleet are equipped with Starlink satellite terminals, giving them beyond line-of-sight connectivity that allows targeting information to be updated while the drone is already in flight toward its objective. A LUCAS drone can be launched, fly for hundreds of miles, receive updated coordinates mid-mission, and redirect itself to a new target without any human physically controlling it from moment to moment. The human remains in the loop in terms of authorizing the mission and approving the target list, but the execution is autonomous. The original Shahed was a blunt instrument designed for volume. The American version is a precision instrument that also happens to be available in volume. LUCAS drones can be launched from multiple platforms, catapult systems on the ground, vehicle-mounted mobile launchers, and critically, from ships at sea. They were test-launched from the Independence-class littoral combat ship USS Santa Barbara in the Persian Gulf before they ever saw combat. That naval launch capability is strategically significant. It means LUCAS is not dependent on fixed airstrips that can be targeted and destroyed. It can be deployed from almost anywhere across a vast operating area, which makes the launch infrastructure itself extraordinarily difficult to suppress. CENTCOM established Task Force Scorpion Strike in December of 2025, following directives from War Secretary Pete Hegseth to accelerate the acquisition and deployment of cost-effective drone technology. It was the first squadron in American military history dedicated entirely to one-way attack drones. The mission was straightforward: provide affordable, rapidly deployable offensive drone capability to commanders in the Middle East as quickly as possible. The first combat use of Lucas came during Operation Epic Fury, the joint United States and Israeli military campaign targeting Iranian assets that began in early March of 2026. Task Force Scorpion Strike used Lucas drones in the opening salvos of the campaign. They were fired at unspecified Iranian targets on the first day and used repeatedly in the days that followed. For the first time in history, American forces were using mass-produced, low-cost kamikaze drones in sustained combat operations, the same category of weapon that had been exclusively associated with Iran and Russia just years before. When asked directly how effective Lucas had been in combat and how much it was helping preserve the stockpile of more expensive munitions, Admiral Cooper gave a two-word assessment: indispensable. That single word from the commander of United States Central Command is worth dwelling on, meaning the campaign as conducted could not have been executed in the same way without it. When asked what kinds of targets Lucas had been used against, Cooper's answer was equally economical: good ones. The strategic impact of Lucas extends well beyond any individual strike or any single campaign. For years, one of the most serious concerns animating American military planning around a potential conflict with Iran was the question of magazine depth. Iran possesses thousands of drones and missiles. Producing enough expensive cruise missiles and interceptors to match that volume was economically and industrially unsustainable over a prolonged conflict. The fear was that Iranian barrages would outlast American and Allied stockpiles, forcing a choice between accepting devastating strikes or escalating beyond what the political situation could bear. Lucas has directly addressed that fear. Iran's response to all of this was as revealing as it was predictable. Rather than acknowledging that the United States had studied their approach and built a superior version of their own weapon, Iranian military officials pivoted to accusation. The spokesperson for Iran's Khatam al-Anbiya central headquarters publicly charged that America and Israel had copied the Shahed design and were deploying Lucas drones specifically to frame Iran for drone attacks across the region that they themselves were carrying out. The allegation was elaborate. Lucas was not a weapon aimed at Iran, but an impersonation designed to make Tehran look responsible for strikes it had nothing to do with. Consider what that accusation actually reveals beneath the political theater. Iran built a drone so effective, so distinctive in its design, and so thoroughly associated with Iranian military operations across the Middle East that when America built a near-identical version, Iran's instinct was not to acknowledge the imitation. Their instinct was to claim that America was using the similarity to commit fraud. That response tells you everything about how central the Shahed had become to Iran's sense of its own military identity. And it tells you everything about how completely Lucas had disrupted that identity. Japan is developing a next-generation fighter that will control the battlefield from the air, not just operate within it. Designed to work with coordinated drone formations, this aircraft will allow a single pilot to direct autonomous systems conducting reconnaissance, electronic warfare, and strike missions ahead of the manned jet. The program, part of the Global Combat Air Program, represents a major shift toward networked air combat, one that regional powers are monitoring closely. So what exactly is Japan building, and why has it raised concerns about the future balance of air power in the Pacific? Join us as we examine how Japan's next-generation fighter is commanding combat drones and why it is drawing serious attention. For most of the post-war era, Japan operated under a constitutional framework that severely restricted its military ambitions. It could defend itself but not project power, export weapons, or develop an indigenous fighter without bowing to American technology controls that kept its own aerospace industry perpetually dependent on Washington's approval. That Japan is gone, and the country that replaced it is spending money, building alliances, and developing weapons at a pace that Beijing is watching with genuine alarm. Japan raised its military budget to 8.4 trillion yen, roughly $57.8 billion for fiscal year 2025, with an additional 1.5 trillion yen on related spending, bringing total defense expenditure to approximately 1.8% of GDP and moving the country toward its stated target of 2% by 2027. To put that in context, Japan's defense budget 20 years ago was legally capped at 1% of GDP. The number has nearly doubled, and the things Japan is spending that money on are the things that make China's military planners sit up very straight. At the center of all of it is GCAP, the Global Combat Air Program, a sixth-generation fighter jet being developed jointly by Japan, the United Kingdom, and Italy, targeted for operational service in 2035, and designed around a concept of warfare that goes well beyond anything currently flying in the Indo-Pacific. GCAP brings together Mitsubishi Heavy Industries from Japan, BAE Systems from the UK, and Leonardo from Italy in a program that incorporates advanced stealth, electronic warfare, artificial intelligence, and loyal wingman drones. The schedule calls for a technology demonstrator flight around 2027 and entry into service around 2035. The phrase loyal wingman drones deserves unpacking because it is the detail that most distinguishes this aircraft from anything in the current generation of fighters and the detail that most concerns China's military planners. Traditional air combat involves one pilot in one aircraft, supported by other pilots in other aircraft. A sixth-generation platform like GCAP operates differently. UK Ministry of Defence representatives have confirmed that the GCAP will carry sufficient computing power to control a system of systems, including low-cost autonomous drones, while operating deep inside hostile territory where connections to traditional support assets may be restricted, all while remaining survivable. Think about what that means in practice. A single GCAP pilot flies toward a defended zone. Around the aircraft, a swarm of autonomous drones fans out. Some of them carry radar jamming systems that blind the enemy's sensors. Some carry weapons that can be fired independently. Some fly ahead to draw out enemy missiles and absorb hits, deliberately expendable decoys that force the defender to waste interceptors on unmanned targets. Meanwhile, the manned GCAP sits behind the swarm, invisible in its stealth configuration, collecting data from every drone simultaneously, synthesizing the entire battlespace picture in real time, and directing the swarm's actions like a quarterback calling plays. Japan's Ministry of Defense published an evaluation report in August 2025 detailing the rationale for developing collaborative UAVs capable of manned-unmanned teaming with GCAP. The document highlighted two urgent priorities: the need to account for potential development delays to meet the 2035 deployment target, and the need for Japan to rapidly build indigenous UAV capabilities to ensure it could meaningfully contribute to any joint research and development projects in the collaborative combat aircraft field. Japan is not waiting for GCAP to be finished before it starts developing the drones that will fly with it. The two programs are running in parallel. Japan's fiscal 2026 budget allocated 4.9 billion yen, approximately $32.3 million, specifically for the collaborative UAV project to commence its conceptual design phase. Japan also announced that the Japan Air Self-Defense Force would participate in observation and training related to Boeing Australia's MQ-28 Ghostbat, a wingman being developed for the Royal Australian Air Force. Japan is not just designing its own loyal wingman, it is studying someone else's loyal wingman simultaneously, learning from the operational experience Australia is developing with the Ghostbat, to make sure its own system benefits from every lesson already being learned in the field. Now here is where the sensor architecture of GCAP becomes the real story, because the drone control capability is only as good as the information system that makes it possible. On current 4th and 5th generation fighters, sensors still work largely in a stovepipe capacity. They share information into a common hub, but do not actively cross-check or prioritize data among themselves. On GCAP, a multifunction processor will rapidly process all incoming sensor data before it ever reaches the cockpit, synthesizing radar, electronic warfare, infrared search and track, and other inputs into a single coherent picture before the pilot sees it. The difference between a stovepipe sensor system and a fused one sounds technical, but its operational consequence is enormous. In a fifth-generation fighter, the pilot receives raw feeds from multiple sensors and must mentally integrate them into a situational picture under extreme time pressure, in a cockpit moving at supersonic speed while simultaneously flying the aircraft and managing weapons employment. In GCAP, that integration happens below the level of human awareness. The pilot receives a fused picture that has already been assembled, cross-checked, and prioritized by a machine. The cognitive load drops, the decision speed increases, and the pilot's mental bandwidth, freed from the work of synthesizing conflicting sensor feeds, can be spent on what humans still do better than machines: judgment, tactics, and command. The future aircraft's radar is intended to deliver 10,000 times more data than current systems. Leonardo UK's Isanke and ICS architecture, integrated sensing and non-kinetic effects, plus integrated communication systems, will allow GCAP to sense first, fuse faster, share securely, and survive inside dense electronic warfare environments where detection, jamming, deception, and targeting happen almost simultaneously. 10,000 times more data. That number requires a moment to sit with. The F-35 is the most advanced fighter currently in operational service anywhere in the world, and GCAP's radar is being designed to generate 10,000 times more information than the sensors on aircraft of that generation. The processing required to make that data useful, rather than simply overwhelming, is what the multifunction processor is being built to handle. British defense official Group Captain Bill Sanders explicitly stated that GCAP must be able to work with any number of different loyal wingman drone types, not just one national design, because commanders in a real conflict need maximum flexibility to use whatever platforms are available. The fighter's weapons bay is being designed with the same philosophy, capable of accepting any weapon used by the partner nations, by NATO, and by the United States. That weapons bay flexibility is not just a logistics convenience, but also a strategic statement. In any actual conflict, initial strikes are conducted with the most capable and expensive precision weapons. As those stockpiles run down under attrition, the ability to switch to cheaper, more available munitions without sacrificing effectiveness becomes critical. GCAP is being designed from the beginning to accommodate that transition, to start a war with the best weapons and finish it with whatever is available, rather than becoming combat ineffective the moment its preferred munition runs short. Program officials have confirmed that GCAP is expected to carry roughly double the weapon payload of an F-35A and may have sufficient range to cross the Atlantic Ocean on internal fuel without refueling, unlike the Eurofighter Typhoon, which requires 3 or 4 refueling stops for the same journey. Double the payload of an F-35, intercontinental range on internal fuel, a radar generating 10,000 times more data, autonomous drone command capability deep inside hostile territory. These are not marginal improvements on existing technology. They represent a genuinely different conception of what a fighter aircraft is and what it does. Now set all of that against the backdrop of what is happening between China and Japan right now, and the strategic weight of GCAP becomes much clearer. Relations between China and Japan entered a state of diplomatic crisis in November 2025, after Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi stated in Parliament that a Chinese attack on Taiwan could potentially constitute an existential crisis for Japan, allowing Japan to take military action in collective self-defense. China's Consul General in Osaka made threatening statements in response, triggering a significant diplomatic row between the two countries. This was not a slip of the tongue. It was a deliberate signal from Tokyo that Japan no longer views its security as separate from Taiwan's, and China understood that signal precisely as intended, which is why the reaction was so sharp. China is not standing still while Japan builds. Beijing has its own 6th-generation programs underway. The race is real, the stakes are direct, and both sides know it. What makes GCAP particularly alarming for Chinese planners is not just the aircraft's capabilities in isolation. It is the coalition architecture building around it. On April 1st, 2026, the UK, Italy, and Japan awarded Edgewing the trinational industrial joint venture formed by BAE Systems, Leonardo, and Japan Aircraft Industrial Enhancement Company Limited, a £686 million contract, formally designating it as GCAP's Unified Design and Engineering Authority, marking the program's transition from a politically coordinated national effort into a fully integrated international acquisition program with a single design authority. This is the moment where GCAP stopped being three countries talking about building a fighter together and became one program with one design authority, one industrial chain, and one objective. Japan is expected to be GCAP's primary operator. The technology transfer involved in the program gives Japan access to advanced aerospace capabilities that it could not develop alone in the necessary timeframe, while also giving Japan stronger negotiating power and greater leadership influence over future defense exports. This is a country that was legally prohibited from exporting weapons for decades. Now it is positioning itself as a leading exporter of one of the most advanced combat aircraft ever designed. Japan has already fast-tracked a revision of its export restriction policies specifically to accommodate GCAP exports to allied nations, opening the door for countries like Australia and India to eventually acquire the platform. If Australia and India become GCAP operators, the coalition of nations flying this aircraft and the loyal wingman drones it commands would span from Europe across the Indian Ocean to the Pacific, surrounding China's sphere of influence with a network of interoperable, sensor-fused, drone-commanding sixth-generation fighters. That is not a theoretical future concern. It is the strategic architecture Japan, the UK, and Italy are deliberately constructing right now, and China can see every piece of it taking shape. Analysis from the Royal United Services Institute has emphasized that sixth-generation aircraft are essential specifically for the Indo-Pacific theater because of the vast operational distances involved and the vulnerability of aerial refueling tankers to Chinese long-range missiles. Such aircraft need to operate securely beyond missile threats with sufficient internal fuel and weapons to conduct extended missions without dependence on vulnerable support assets. This is a direct response to one of China's core military strategies. Beijing has spent 2 decades building missiles specifically designed to threaten the tanker aircraft and air bases that American and Allied fighters depend on. GCAP's intercontinental fuel range is not an incidental capability. It is a deliberate counter to that strategy, a fighter that does not need a tanker to reach its target and therefore cannot be denied access to the fight by destroying the tanker fleet. What does $200 million buy in today's military? Not a fleet of jets or an advanced warship, but one extraordinary drone. This is not an average flying robot. It is a game changer that can stay in the air longer, see farther, and do more than anything that came before it. While most aircraft need to land after a few hours, this drone can circle the Earth twice without ever touching the ground. Why would the military spend this much on a single drone? And what makes this particular aircraft so valuable that it costs more than a town? Join us as we explore the RQ-4 UAV, a groundbreaking aerial powerhouse redefining surveillance, intelligence, and global defense strategies. The Northrop Grumman Global Hawk represents a significant advancement in unmanned aerial surveillance technology. The aircraft specializes in extended duration reconnaissance missions, utilizing sophisticated synthetic aperture radar systems and electro-optical infrared sensors. The United States Air Force operates the Global Hawk as part of its fleet. These planes can fly very high and stay up there for hours, making them perfect for gathering information that helps military operations worldwide. However, the program ended up costing way more than planned. Initially, the Air Force wanted to buy 63 planes, but had to cut that down to 45. Each plane started out costing $10 million in 1994, but by 2001, that price jumped to nearly $61 million per plane. By 2013, each cost over $131 million. Because of these high costs, they considered grounding 21 of their unique intelligence-gathering models in 2013. The Air Force worked on 2 robot planes in the 90s to gather intelligence. They had the Dark Star, made by Lockheed Martin, designed to fly without being detected. Their other option was the Global Hawk. When money got tight, they had to pick just one. They went with the Global Hawk because it could fly farther and carry more equipment, even though it was not as stealthy as the Dark Star. They needed the planes to give them an advantage in the Middle East. So the Air Force did not wait for all the testing to finish. They sent these early models straight to Afghanistan to help with the war effort. That is pretty unusual, as usually they would wait until all the testing was done. They built 9 more improved versions, called Block 10 aircraft. 2 of these went to the Navy, and they sent another 2 to Iraq to help. They delivered the last Block 10 plane in 2006. The Global Hawk got an upgrade. Engineers made the nose longer and stretched out the wings. This new version, called Block 20, could carry 3,000 pounds of gear, a big improvement over the original. Northrop Grumman unveiled its upgraded Global Hawk in the year 2006, the 17th one they had built. The plane took its first test flight in 2007, going from Palmdale to Edwards Air Force Base in California. They spent 2008 putting it through its paces, ensuring the improvements worked as planned. The Navy wanted to see if the Global Hawk could work over oceans, so they got 2 Block 10 planes to test. They named them N1 and N2. They did some quick tests at Edwards Air Force Base. Then in 2006, they moved the first plane to their testing site at Patuxent River. A special Navy test group called VX-20 took charge of trying out these maritime patrol versions. The Global Hawk maritime demonstration aircraft first appeared at RIMPAC, a major naval exercise near Hawaii, in July 2006. The drone flew from Point Mugu Naval Base in California, making 4 round trips of about 2,500 miles each way. During its 24 hours in the air, it worked closely with 2 ships, the USS Abraham Lincoln, an aircraft carrier, and the USS Bonhomme Richard, an amphibious assault ship. The Global Hawk's mission was clear: watch the oceans, monitor ships, and take photos during exercises. All the images were sent to Patuxent River Naval Air Station for analysis before being sent to Navy ships near Hawaii. Northrop Grumman saw an opportunity and entered their RQ-4B drone in a Navy competition for a new surveillance aircraft. It paid off. In April 2008, they won a contract worth $1,160 million. The Navy first called it the RQ-4N, but in 2010, they gave it a new name, the MQ-4C. While the Navy's MQ-4C Triton and Air Force RQ-4 look alike, they serve different purposes. The Air Force model stays at high altitudes, but the Navy's Triton is more flexible. It can fly at 50,000 feet to search large areas, then drop to 10,000 feet to get a better view of what it finds. This unique flight pattern meant the Triton needed special wings. Though they might look like the Air Force version's wings from the outside, they are much more challenging on the inside. They are also built to handle ice, physical damage, and lightning, features the Air Force model doesn't need since it stays high in the sky. On June 17, 2022, the Navy wrapped up a mission that went way longer than planned. They had brought home their last RQ-4 ABAMS-D drone from the Middle East. What started as a 6-month test turned into a 13-year operation. The Navy had bought 5 Block 10 drones, keeping at least 1 in the Persian Gulf area since 2009. Over the years, they flew 2,069 missions, logging 42,500 hours in the air. They lost 2 drones, 1 crashed, and Iran shot down another. Now the Navy has switched to using the newer MQ-4C instead. The Global Hawk program ran into financial trouble in mid-2006, when cost per aircraft jumped 25% higher than expected. This happened because they had to fix design problems and add new features. Congress wasn't happy about the rising costs and threatened to shut down the program if they couldn't prove it was worth the money for national security. To save the project, they reorganized everything in June 2006. The Air Force was supposed to finish testing the drone in 2005, but had to push that back to 2007 because of delays in building and developing it. When they finally released their test report in March 2007, they also decided to stretch out production of 54 aircraft until 2015. The Global Hawk ran into big money problems in mid-2006. Each drone cost 25% more than planned because they needed fixes and upgrades. Congress was not pleased about spending more money and said they might cancel the whole thing if it was not helping national security. To keep the program alive, they made significant changes that June. Testing fell behind schedule, too. The Air Force could not finish their review in 2005 as planned. They had to wait until 2007 because building and developing the drones took longer than expected. When they finally finished testing in March 2007, they spread out the work. They'd now built 54 drones over a longer time, finishing in 2015. In early 2011, the Air Force faced a tough choice about the Global Hawk program. They cut their order of Block 40 drones from 22 to 11 to reduce costs. Then things got interesting. That June, the Pentagon's testing team reported problems with the RQ-4B. It was not performing well enough. But in a surprising twist, that same month, the Secretary of Defense declared the Global Hawk essential for national security. They said a few key things. No other aircraft could do the same job for less money. It saved $220 million per year compared to the U-2 spy plane. It could carry more sensors than the U-2 at once. And if they had to cut spending somewhere else to keep it going, they would. In early 2012, the Pentagon shook things up with its drone plans. They dropped the Global Hawk Block 30. It was eating up too much money, and its sensors were not as sharp as those on the older U-2 spy plane. Instead, they focused on buying more of the newer Block 40 model. The Air Force wanted to retire all their Block 30s, but Congress had other ideas. They told the Air Force to keep flying these drones until at least late 2014. By 2013, the Air Force wanted to buy 45 RQ-4B Global Hawks. However, swapping out the U-2 spy plane for these drones raised some worries. General Mike Hostage, who ran Air Combat Command until 2014, warned that military commanders would have to settle for gear that was only 90% as good and deal with that for 8 years. Running the Global Hawk became much cheaper between 2010 and 2013. The cost for each flight hour dropped from $40,600 to $18,900. Much of this saving came from contractor support costs falling from $25,000 to $11,000 per hour. Flying the drones more often helped spread out these support costs. By 2015, the Air Force wanted to retire all U-2s by 2019. But Lockheed Martin, who made the U-2, said their plane could fly until 2050. The plans for these spy planes kept changing. In early 2018, the Air Force put off retiring the U-2 without setting a new date. Then, in 2020, their budget papers were confused by suggesting the U-2 might stop flying in 2025. The Air Force had to step in and clear things up. They were not planning to retire it at all. But here's the twist. In the summer of 2022, they announced they would retire the Global Hawk by 2027 instead. Germany's Air Force ordered a special version of the Romeo Quebec 4 Bravo drone called the Eurohawk. They wanted to use it to replace their old Atlantique spy planes, which were part of their Navy's air fleet. This new drone would be packed with special sensors made by European Aeronautic Defense and Space Company, 6 mounted on the wings. The sensors could detect electronic signals and gather intelligence. They were built to be portable. If needed, they could be moved to other aircraft, including ones flown by pilots. The Eurohawk took off for the first time in 2010, not long after they showed it to the public. After a series of test flights at Edwards Air Force Base in California, it made the long journey to Germany in July 2011. The Germans had a clear goal: outfit the drone with specialized spy sensors and get their crews trained on this new piece of equipment. This was meant to be the first of several Eurohawks for Germany's military, though things didn't quite work out that way. But things got messy. Germany's defense ministry knew in 2011 that getting permission to fly in European airspace would be tricky. The drone had problems with its controls, and Northrop Grumman, who made it, would not share critical technical details that Germany needed to check if it was safe to fly. The German Air Force still hoped to give the drone to their 51st Reconnaissance Wing, but these problems were starting to pile up. German media broke a big story in May 2013. The Eurohawk couldn't get approved to fly in Europe or any country following international rules. The problem? It did not have a system to avoid crashing into other aircraft. Fixing this would cost over 600 million euros, about 780 million US dollars. And here's the kicker. Even after spending all that money, there was no guarantee it would pass inspection. Germany pulled the plug on the whole program 2 days after the news broke. The story took a wild turn. In 2012, Germany's defense minister, Thomas de Maizière, was all in on the Eurohawk. But a year later, he did a complete flip and told Parliament the project was an endless nightmare. The government had burned through 562 million euros before shutting it down. But that was not the end of the story. Northrop Grumman and EDS fought back against the decision. They said the media misunderstood the control issues and the high costs. They even made a bold offer. They would finish testing the first drone and build 4 more, promising to keep costs under control. The Eurohawk pulled off something remarkable. In August 2013, it stayed in the air for more than 25 hours without stopping, reaching 58,600 feet high. No other unmanned aircraft that heavy had ever flown that long in Europe without needing more fuel. President Obama set aside $10 million in 2014 to see if they could move the U-2's advanced sensors to the Global Hawk drone. Northrop Grumman gave it a shot the following year. They took 2 necessary sensors from the U-2, the optical bar camera and one called SIRES, and got them working on the drone. It worked so well that they thought they could do the same upgrade to all their Global Hawks. By July 2015, everything was set. The Air Force and Northrop Grumman decided to try out 2 drones with these sensors. They had to add 17 special mounts and change the drone's bottom cover to make it all fit. After tweaking the software, the new design could hold 540 kilos of sensors in a canoe-shaped bay underneath. Northrop Grumman was not done yet. They planned to add another sensor called the MS-177 to the Global Hawk. This new sensor worked well on the E-8C J-STARS plane and would replace the older SIRES 2. Thanks to a rotating camera mount, it could spot things better and see more around it. In February 2016, they proved they were on the right track when the drone flew successfully with the older SIRES 2 sensor. Raytheon built special defenses for the drone. They added sensors that could tell if someone was trying to track it with lasers or radar. They also gave it jamming gear and a decoy it could pull behind it. The Global Hawk is starting a second career. Instead of flying combat missions, it's being turned into something called a range hawk to help test hypersonic missiles. It's a complete change of mission. Now these drones will look up at missiles flying overhead instead of down at the ground. The Pentagon is adding new sensors and moving equipment to track these super-fast missiles. 24 older drones are being converted, 4 Block 20 and 20 Block 30 models. The switch is already working well. The modified Block 10 Range Hawks helped test hypersonic weapons 10 times in 2023. They even managed 2 tests 10 days apart, one over the Atlantic and another over the Pacific. The Global Hawk is not just one drone, but a system with 2 main parts. First, the RQ-4 aircraft carries all the sensors and communication gear. Then there's the ground control, split in 2. One team handles takeoff and landing, while another runs the actual mission. The RQ-4 runs on a Rolls-Royce turbofan engine that puts out 7,050 pounds of thrust. It can carry up to 2,000 pounds of equipment. The body is made from aluminum with a V-shaped tail, and the wings are built from strong composite materials. The Global Hawk started with a model called the RQ-4A Block 10. This first version could carry 2,000 pounds of gear, including radar, regular cameras, and infrared sensors for taking detailed pictures. The military built 7 but stopped using them by 2011. The first production model was the RQ-4A, made for the United States Air Force. 16 of these aircraft were built in total. The later RQ-4B version had several improvements, notably a larger payload capacity. Its wingspan was extended to 130.9 feet, 39.9 meters, and its length grew to 47.7 feet, 14.5 meters. These size and payload increases did come with a trade-off, though. The aircraft's range dropped to 8,700 nautical miles, 16,100 kilometers. NATO developed the RQ-4D Phoenix specifically for its Alliance ground surveillance program. Germany created the RQ-4E Eurohawk version, building on the RQ-4B design, but adding special EADs equipment for gathering intelligence signals. While Germany planned to buy 5 Eurohawks, they scrapped the program in May 2013 after getting just 1 aircraft. The MQ-4C Triton, previously known as the RQ-4N, was developed for the United States Navy to handle broad maritime surveillance. The Navy has ordered 4 and plans to get 68 of them eventually. The EQ-4B variant is equipped with special communications gear called the Battlefield Airborne Communications Node System, or BACN. Finally, a proposed KQX version would have worked as a self-flying refueling tanker, though this never reached the planning stage. These upgrades show how the Global Hawk kept getting better at its job. It was adapted to meet new military needs, from taking pictures to relaying messages. The switch from a 2,000-pound to a 3,000-pound payload meant it could carry more advanced gear, making it more useful in more situations. The United States is about to shock the world with a brand new technology. This aviation marvel, the MQ-25 Stingray, is the first unmanned aircraft in history to ever refuel other aircraft. This drone is built to evade enemy radar and revolutionize aerial refueling. But that's not all. It can be launched from aircraft carriers, extending the reach of United States naval operations like never before. What are the features of this aircraft that made it different from other aircraft? What are the primary missions of the MQ-25 Stingray in naval operations? Join us as we unveil the features of MQ-25 and the development over the years. Unmanned aerial vehicles have transformed military operations worldwide, playing important roles in both reconnaissance and combat. These advanced technologies allow for real-time monitoring of conflict zones without risking pilot lives. UAVs are versatile, with some designed for surveillance and others for offensive missions, and they vary in range and endurance, making them adaptable to diverse mission requirements. It's no secret that American technologies occupy a leading position among the world's manufacturers, and today there's a list of the 10 best American unmanned aerial vehicles. MQ-1DC Gray Eagle, RQ-4 Global Hawk, MQ-4C Triton, RQ-7 Shadow, MQ-8B Fire Scout, MQ-9 Reaper, CQ-10 Snow Goose, RQ-11 Raven, RQ-12 Wasp, and RQ-20 Puma, while MQ-25 Stingray and Horse A are still in development. Unmanned aircraft systems are becoming more and more important in the military at previously unheard-of rates. Over 100,000 flight hours were completed in 2005 by unmanned aircraft operating at the tactical and theater levels in support of Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom, which were coordinated by Task Force in Iraq and Task Force Liberty in Afghanistan. Rapid technological advancements allowed the United States to deploy increasingly more capabilities on smaller airframes during the missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. The number of unmanned systems deployed on the battlefield has increased significantly since the United States withdrew from the Middle East and Central Asia, and this trend has persisted throughout both conflicts. Armed unmanned aerial vehicles were first employed in 2001 when the Central Intelligence Agency's MQ-1 Predator was used to deliver anti-tank missiles into Afghanistan. Although there are claims that millions of unmanned aerial vehicle flight hours have now been recorded, and this started in 2006. The United States continues to fund research and development for unmanned systems of all kinds, which results in advancements that allow them to carry out a wide range of tasks. While intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions continue to be the principal functions of unmanned aerial vehicles, they are no longer the only ones they carry out. Their responsibilities have grown to encompass combat search and rescue, network node or communications relay, drone strikes, electronic attack, suppression or destruction of enemy air defense, and variations on these themes. With aircraft weighing less than 1 pound to more than 40,000 pounds, the cost of these unmanned systems varies from a few $1,000s to tens of millions of dollars. The Navy started looking for an aircraft carrier-based unmanned aerial vehicle in 2006, and that was when the idea on the MQ-25 Stingray got underway. In order to breach enemy defenses and launch its armaments covertly, the Navy desired a stealth drone. The Navy diminished the drone strike capabilities in favor of information, surveillance, and reconnaissance after 6 years of effort, changing the parameters. After so many years of going back and forth regarding the capabilities of the drone being able to specialize in surveillance or delivering weapons, it was decided in 2016 that MQ-25 would be an aerial refueling drone that would be the same size as F/A-18F Super Hornet. It was agreed that MQ-25 offers enhanced flexibility for naval forces. It is also cost-effective because the adoption of unmanned systems and using unmanned systems reduces risk to human pilots. This drone is the best to use in high-risk operations because it can be deployed in dangerous situations, protecting the pilots from exposure during fuel transfer or reconnaissance operations. The Stingray symbolizes innovation in global naval aviation capabilities, designed with adaptability in mind. The use of airborne refueling decreases the time aircraft spend on the deck of the carrier, allowing for quicker turnaround and increased sortie rates. The MQ-25 Stingray has two main segments, which are the air vehicle segment and the ground segment. The actual drone structure and its features, such as design and configuration, make up the air vehicle section. The MQ-25's aerodynamic, streamlined design is tailored for carrier operations. It can perform well in flight because of its wingspan of about 75 feet and resemblance to traditional fighter aircraft. By serving as a mobile filling station in the sky, the MQ-25's substantial fuel capacity allows it to increase the range of carrier-based aircraft. In order to support intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance tasks, it can also hold a variety of sensors and payloads. Because of its turbofan engine, the UAV can travel at speeds that are on par with those of other carrier-based aircraft. With a fighting radius that can go well beyond the carrier's own, it can support a variety of missions with flexibility. The MQ-25 can carry out missions with little assistance from humans because it is built for autonomous operations. It can maneuver, avoid obstacles, and accomplish complex tasks in tandem with other assets thanks to its sophisticated avionics and software. The drone is designed to work in unison with the launch and recovery technologies already in place at carriers. This guarantees that it may be successfully launched from aircraft carriers without requiring significant adjustments to the operations of the current carrier strike group. The ground control stations and other systems used to operate and control the MQ-25 when it is not in flight are included in the ground segment. The unmanned aerial vehicle is launched, tracked, and managed by operators via ground control stations. These stations' intuitive user interfaces enable mission planning and real-time data processing. Secure speech and data links between the unmanned aerial vehicle and the operators on the ground or in the carrier are made possible by the MQ-25's advanced communication equipment. This makes it possible to continuously assess the situation and modify the mission. Pre-flight inspections, post-mission analysis, and maintenance logistical support are all included in the ground segment. The MQ-25 can be deployed rapidly and put back into service with little downtime thanks to effective logistics. Advanced software tools facilitate the analysis of data gathered during flights and aid in mission planning. For improving upcoming missions and honing strategies, this information may be essential. Through unmanned refueling and support missions, the MQ-25 Stingray greatly improves the operational capabilities of aircraft carriers by fusing these two elements into a flexible and potent tool for contemporary naval warfare. Boeing provided visuals of its first pre-production example of the MQ-25 Stingray tanker drone, and up to this point, the MQ-25 demonstrator has been the public face of the Stingray program. To design an aircraft focused on information, surveillance, and reconnaissance that could be rapidly produced to carry out low-intensity counterterrorism missions, lethality and strike criteria were relaxed in 2012. Additionally, it solves the carrier's requirement for an organic refueling aircraft, which has been suggested for the unmanned carrier-launched airborne surveillance and strike since 2014. This would allow the 20 to 30% of Super Hornets to complete the mission more effectively and economically than modifying the F-35, V-22 Osprey, and E-2D Hawkeye, or bringing the retired S-3 Viking back into service. A formal request for proposal was anticipated in 2017, 4 development contracts were awarded in 2016, and operational status was anticipated in the early to mid-20s. In July 2016, it was officially named MQ-25 Stingray after being named RAC-25 previously. According to Michael Manazir, the MQ-25 can increase the Super Hornet's unrefined combat radius from 450 nautical miles to more than 700 nautical miles. With a range of 500 nautical miles, the Navy wants the aircraft to be able to transport 15,000 pounds, 6,800 kilograms, of fuel to 4 or 6 aircraft. In October of 2017, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and General Atomics received the Navy's final request for proposals for the MQ-25 Stingray. When the unmanned carrier-launched airborne surveillance program was put on hold in 2017, Boeing completed the construction of its wing body tail covertly and resurrected it for the community-based agricultural research and development mission. Boeing's prototype aircraft entrant, which included insights from its various unmanned aerial systems and the Boeing Phantom Ray flying wing, was unveiled on December 19, 2017. Although Boeing claims that this was taken into account when designing the MQ-25, the aircraft's design is not new for the tanking mission. This company prioritizes adaptability and cutting-edge technology in the design of the MQ-25 Stingray. The aircraft is a stealth drone that can refuel in the air and is based on a carrier. Boeing wanted to use its vast knowledge of manned and unmanned systems. The contender has been put through a rigorous testing process, which includes successful flight tests showing that it can refuel a variety of naval aircraft. The RQ-170 Sentinel, a concept that Lockheed Martin first suggested, has a track record of success in reconnaissance missions. Their strategy was centered on enhanced sensor capabilities and stealth. Strategy, with a focus on intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities, the business aimed to incorporate technology that may improve carrier group's operational performance. Building on its experience with the X-47B, a prior unmanned carrier operations demonstration, Northrop Grumman unveiled a variation. Their design sought to optimize payload capacity and operational range. Northrop Grumman's solution was unique in that it demonstrated advances in UAV technology by integrating autonomous elements for carrier operations. General Atomics, which is well known for the Predator and Reaper drones, wanted to contribute its wealth of unmanned aircraft expertise to the competition. Their design placed a strong emphasis on combining refueling duties with strike capability. Their main aim was to create a flexible platform that could fulfill several functions within a carrier strike group. The United States Navy assessed bids according to a number of factors, including cost, operating experience, technical skills, and the possibility of quick deployment. The United States Navy declared Boeing the winner of the competition on August 30, 2018, and gave the company a $805 million development contract for 4 MQ-25, an aircraft which is expected to be finished by August 2024. Their creative strategy and solid track record in aeronautical technologies had a role in the decision. The Navy hopes to lower operating costs and improve mission flexibility by integrating unmanned systems into carrier operations. In addition to forcing rival defense behemoths like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and General Atomics to innovate and improve their plans, the competition to create the MQ-25 Stingray has cemented Boeing's leadership in unmanned naval aviation. This competition highlights the significance of technological superiority in contemporary combat scenarios and represents a significant shift in naval strategy towards unmanned systems. The MQ-25 program will continue to influence military aviation dynamics and establish standards for the integration of unmanned systems in naval operations in the future. The successful deployment of the MQ-25 is anticipated to greatly expand the operational reach of naval aviators, enabling carrier-based aircraft to operate at greater distances during missions. Significant drone technology breakthroughs have resulted from this competition, forcing all businesses to quickly develop in avionics, operational integration, and unmanned flight capabilities. On April 2, 2020, 3 more test MQ-25As were ordered, bringing the total order to 7. The program might eventually total $13 billion and include 72 aircraft. Across the Mississippi River, from Boeing's technical factory at Lambert International Airport in St. Louis to Mid-America St. Louis Airport, which is connected to Scott Air Force Base, the first MQ-25 test aircraft was transported by road in late April 2019. The Federal Aviation Administration certified the aircraft and provided airspace for flight testing after taxi tests. The first flight of the MQ-25 was on September 19, 2019. Boeing published footage of the MQ-25's first flight with an externally installed Cobham aerial refueling depot in December 2020. The first refueling test was carried out on June 4, 2021, when an F/A-18 Super Hornet was fueled by the MQ-25 at Mid-America Airport in Mascoutah, Illinois. The MQ-25 was launched with assistance from Air Test and Evaluation Squadron VX-23. The 2 aircraft made many dry or wet contacts for over 10 minutes during the roughly 4.5-hour operation, transferring a total of 325 pounds of fuel. E-2 and F-35C were used for additional refueling experiments. During this first testing, the The main goal was to show that the MQ-25 could refuel both vintage and modern aircraft, in this case the F/A-18 Super Hornet. Enhancing the United States Navy's air capabilities requires this capability since it enables carrier-based aircraft to fly farther without having to return to the carrier for fuel. Throughout the test, the MQ-25 functioned independently and effectively extended its refueling boom to deliver fuel to the F/A-18 while it was in flight. The mission demonstrated the MQ-25's sophisticated technologies, such as its sensors and algorithms, which enable precise maneuvering and reliable refueling connections. This incident established a standard for future unmanned aerial vehicle operations, as it was the first time an unmanned aircraft refueled a manned aircraft while in flight. By validating the MQ-25's design and its ability to close a significant gap in carrier air operations, this test was essential to the United States Navy's unmanned carrier aviation program. It is anticipated that integrating such unmanned technologies will improve mission capability and lessen the burden for pilots. Following the successful refueling test, additional tests were planned to assess the MQ-25's performance in various scenarios, ultimately leading to operational deployment on aircraft carriers. This event emphasizes the Navy's commitment to advancing unmanned technologies and enhancing the capabilities of its carrier air wings. The MQ-25 is also designed to conduct intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions, further contributing to the Navy's operational flexibility. One Rolls-Royce AE 3007 turbofan engine, which produces 10,000-pound force of thrust, powers Boeing's MQ-25 design. This engine is a version of the one that powers the Navy's MQ-4C Triton. Compared to flying wing unmanned aerial vehicles, the aircraft is less stealthy. It does have a V-tail, flush inlet to protect engine blades from radar, and a stealthy fuselage shape. In April 2024, images of a model of MQ-25 were made public, displaying AGM-158C long-range anti-ship missiles on the underwing hardpoints. An electro-optical sensor ball beneath the nose in front of the forward landing gear was also depicted in the model. The United States Navy manages the program of record and is the system of systems required for the MQ-25 Air Vehicle Command and Control, and is critical to the unmanned aircraft refueling operations. The multi-domain combat system, the brains behind the UMCS MD-5EE ground control station, was created by Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works. Other supporting gear and equipment were also developed by the U.S. Navy. All carrier-based unmanned aircraft systems in the future Carrier Air Wing will be controlled by the Unmanned Carrier Aviation Mission Control System, which enhances capability and interoperability in conjunction with the MQ-25. The Stingray is built to function in a networked ecosystem so it can interact, exchange information, and coordinate in real time with other aerial and naval assets. During missions, this connectivity enhances command and control, resulting in more effective and efficient operations. Radio and satellite communications will be used to carry out the refueling operations. The Navy's conventional catapult launch and recovery systems will be combined with the unmanned tanker. Core Power Electronic Circuit Breaker Unit technology, which gives operators intelligent control and visibility of the onboard power systems, will be implemented in the MQ-25 Stingray. The MQ-25 can conduct prolonged operations without regular landings or refueling because of its great range and endurance, which enable it to stay in the air for lengthy periods of time. Long-range reconnaissance and refueling operations both benefit from its endurance. The MQ-25 is an unmanned system that offers a safer option for executing risky missions while lowering the number of persons required for operations in hazardous settings. This drone is designed to be more cost-effective than traditional manned aircraft, both in terms of procurement and operational costs. This efficiency allows the Navy to allocate resources more effectively across its fleet. The MQ-25's capabilities improve interoperability across the branches by enabling combined operations with the Marine Corps, Air Force, and Allied Naval Forces. In summary, the MQ-25 Stingray is a highly adaptable and vital asset for the United States Navy because to its distinctive features, which include its carrier-borne design, aerial refueling capability, stealth characteristics, modular construction, cutting-edge technology, and cost-effectiveness. The Stingray differs from conventional manned and unmanned aircraft in that it can support a variety of tasks and improve the operational capability of aircraft carriers. It was created especially for aircraft carrier operations, which need a sturdy airframe that can survive challenging maritime conditions. Because of its design's folding wings, it can maneuver into a small deck area, which is essential for missions aboard Navy ships. Compared to conventional aircraft, the MQ-25 has a smaller radar cross-section, which makes it harder for adversary radar systems to identify it. Stealth technology, which is essential for functioning in contested areas where adversary detection could be fatal, is included into its design. Because of its modular architecture, the aircraft may be quickly modified to fit different mission profiles and can incorporate new payloads or technologies. This adaptability allows the system to handle a variety of actions, which is essential in a combat situation that is changing quickly. The MQ-25 has state-of-the-art sensors for data collecting, surveillance, and navigation. These capabilities greatly improve situational awareness by enabling it to provide carrier strike groups with crucial intelligence and reconnaissance. The future of warfare is taking a bold leap forward, and it's all thanks to one incredible innovation: the anti-gravity kamikaze drones. Designed to defy the limitations of traditional aerial combat, these drones are poised to revolutionize the battlefield in ways the world has never seen before. With the United States leading the charge, these drones are set to become a game changer, capable of striking with speed and precision that traditional weaponry can't match. What makes anti-gravity kamikaze drones a game changer for the future of warfare? How will the United States leverage this innovative technology to outpace traditional combat strategies on the battlefield? Join us as we uncover how these drones operate and what makes them so deadly. Kamikaze drones are a new breed of weapon that can stay in the air and patrol an area until a target is detected. Unlike traditional drones, which focus on surveillance, these weapons carry warheads that are designed to crash into and destroy their targets. By loitering in the vicinity, they provide military forces with a faster response time, ensuring that high-value jets don't need to get close to dangerous zones. The drones can also change their course mid-flight or abort the mission entirely, giving operators flexibility in real time. Once launched, an unmanned combat aerial vehicle works differently. It's built to fly out, drop weapons, and return home for another day. Unlike cruise missiles, they can circle an area for hours, feeding their handler with live information. This capacity provides a great advantage. If a target moves under cover, operators can wait it out. If civilians are present, the attack can be delayed until they leave. The concept of loitering munitions dates back to the 1980s, when they were first used in operations to suppress enemy air defenses, particularly targeting surface-to-air missile systems. By the 1990s, military forces had deployed them for special roles. Their potential soon expanded, and in the 2000s, loitering weapons started being developed for more diverse applications. These included long-range strikes as well as tactical, short-range battlefield operations, with some models small enough to fit into a backpack, making them incredibly versatile. The first loitering munitions had a few interesting early versions. The US AGM-136 Tacit Rainbow program is often seen as one of the first major steps in developing this technology. Israel also made significant contributions during the 1980s with the development of Delilah variants. Similarly, Iran's Ababa-1, whose exact production timeline remains uncertain, played a role in advancing this technology. Before these weapons received their loitering munition designation, military developers struggled with classification terminology. The AGM-136 shifted between various labels, sometimes categorized as an unmanned aerial vehicle, other times as a cruise missile, or occasionally as a standoff weapon. A 1988 article captured this confusion perfectly. It described the Tacit Rainbow as a pilotless jet that could stay high in the sky, waiting before swooping down to destroy enemy radar sites. Imagine a high-stakes game of detection and evasion playing out across Cold War battlefields. Soviet engineers developed formidable surface-to-air missile systems, the 75 and 125, capable of striking American aircraft with alarming precision. In response, the United States countered with the AGM-45 Shrike, a smart missile designed to home in on enemy radar signals and destroy the fixed missile sites before they could launch. But the Soviets did not give up that easily. They created mobile missile launchers like the 2K-12 Kub that could quickly move to new positions and only turn on their radar when ready fire, making them nearly impossible to track. This unhealthy game of hide-and-seek created a desperate need for a new kind of weapon, one that could patiently hide in the sky, scanning for enemy signals and striking only when the perfect moment arrived. This need was what gave birth to loitering munitions. One of the most important moments in how these weapons evolved came during Israel's 1982 Operation Mole Cricket 19. In this operation, Israel used a mix of unmanned aerial vehicles, air-launched decoys, and other tactics to trick and overwhelm enemy surface-to-air missiles. These strategies were designed to force the enemy to turn on their radar systems, which were then targeted by anti-radiation missiles. The success of this operation showed the United States how loitering munitions could play a key role in warfare by offering a way to counter the growing threats from advanced air defense systems. These drones come in all shapes and sizes. Some are simple, just regular drones with bombs attached. Others are fancy purpose-built machines. But they all work the same basic way: pack explosives, fly to a target, and blow up on impact. The advanced models have better flight control, a bigger boom, and high-tech sensors to find and hit targets dead on. Some have argued that a loitering munition is just a flying bomb and that it is not super complicated. But don't underestimate them. When a swarm of kamikaze drones comes at a target, it's bad news no matter how basic they might be under the hood. The power of these munitions lies in their collective application and autonomous functionality. When multiple units operate in concert, they create battlefield effects that far exceed the sum of their basic components, demonstrating how even technologically straightforward platforms can deliver significant strategic advantages when properly deployed. While some are remotely piloted by human operators, others like the IAI Harop can operate autonomously. The Harop, for example, searches for targets and launches attacks without needing human input. Another example, the U-Vision HERO, is controlled in real time by an operator through a communication system. It is equipped with an electro-optical camera, allowing the operator to receive live images from the battlefield and make informed decisions. Not all loitering munitions are used in a one-way mission. Some, especially UAVs with secondary explosive capabilities, have the option to return to their operator and be recovered if they are not used in an attack. This feature gives the operator more flexibility, as they can avoid wasting valuable resources if the mission is called off or the target is no longer a threat. These systems can be especially useful in situations where the target changes or new intelligence is received during the mission. However, not all loitering munitions offer this recovery option. Systems like the Delilah are designed to be expendable, meaning they self-destruct if the mission is aborted or the target is not engaged. These munitions are built for missions where a direct strike is expected, and any deviation from that course destroys the drone. This ensures that the weapon is not wasted, but it also means that there is no option for the operator to reuse the device if the mission changes. Since the spring of 2022, Russia has been deploying Zala Lancet drones in Ukraine, targeting enemy artillery with deadly precision. In response, Ukrainian forces have adapted by building protective cages around their artillery pieces, using materials like chain-link fences, wire mesh, and even wooden logs. These makeshift defenses are designed to disrupt the Lancet drones, with reports suggesting that such efforts have saved Ukrainian equipment. Ukraine's drone sniping tactics are just one part of the ongoing battle for air superiority. While they are busy taking potshots at Russian drones, the Russians are fighting back with electronic warfare. The Stupor anti-drone rifle is a key weapon in Russia's arsenal. It blasts out an electromagnetic pulse that scrambles a drone's GPS, leaving it lost and confused. No fancy navigation, no problem. And the Russians have been putting their electronic warfare units to good use. By spring 2022, they were knocking out or shooting down a whopping 90% of Ukraine's drones. That's some serious drone destruction. How do they do it? By jamming GPS signals and radio communications? It's like kicking the drone's eyes and ears out all at once. So while Ukraine's playing the sniper game, Russia's going high-tech with gadgets and electronic wizardry. It is a full-on duel for drone domination. Both sides have increasingly turned to electronic warfare as a countermeasure against FPV drones. Ukraine has equipped its trenches and vehicles with jammers, while Russia has developed portable jammers small enough to be carried by soldiers in backpacks. As of June 2023, Ukrainian forces were reportedly losing anywhere from 5 to 10,000 drones a month. That works out to around 160 drones every single day. Losing that many drones drives home how hard it is for Ukraine to keep control of their drone operations during this war. In response to these challenges, Russia has developed wire-guided FPV drones, a shift designed to make them immune to jamming. These drones, using fiber optic cables for guidance, ensure a stable link between the operator and the drone, even in areas where radio contact is weak. This technology provides faster and clearer updates from the drone while keeping the operators and drones' locations hidden from enemy signals. However, these wire-guided drones come with trade-offs, including reduced range, payload, and maneuverability compared to their wireless counterparts. To counter this, Ukraine has turned to autonomous drones capable of continuing their mission even when jammed, as seen in March 24, when a Ukrainian FPV drone, despite losing operator control, successfully hit its target. Big news hit on the 21st of March, 2024. Someone got a video of the Russian sub-Tula decked out in slat armor. It looked like they put that on to protect against drone attacks. This was huge. It was the first time anyone had seen an ocean-going Navy ship fitted with this kind of defense against drones. Navies are starting to realize they need new ways to defend against the threat of drones and robot weapons. The Tula's slat armor is a big sign of that. It showed that militaries are adapting, coming up with new armor and defenses as drones become a bigger deal in war. When comparing cruise missiles, loitering munitions, and unmanned combat aerial vehicles, several important distinctions become apparent in their design philosophy and operational capabilities. Cruise missiles are designed as expendable, one-time use weapons. They feature built-in warheads and typically execute a stealthy final approach to their targets. Their operational profile doesn't include loitering capabilities, as they are optimized for direct flight paths to predetermined targets. These systems generally have limited sensor suites for target acquisition and minimal in-flight control options once launched. Their design prioritizes longer range and higher speeds, making them ideal for striking distant fixed targets with precision. Loitering munitions, in contrast, while also expendable and single-use, introduce the critical capability of loitering over potential target areas. Like cruise missiles, they contain built-in warheads and typically employ stealthy terminal approaches. However, they differ significantly in their comprehensive sensor packages that enable active target acquisition and their extensive in-flight control capabilities. These systems operate at lower speeds but compensate with the ability to patrol an area while searching for targets of opportunity. Unmanned combat aerial vehicles are a whole different ballgame. They are not like the kamikaze drones that just fly one-way missions and blow up. They are meant to be reused, flying out and back again. They don't have built-in bombs. Instead, they carry weapons that they can drop when needed. They are not as sneaky when they approach targets compared to the drones specifically designed for strikes. Where they shine is how long they can hang around an area, the high-tech sensors they have, and how much control operators have over them during flight. They can't fly as far as one-way drones since they have to come back home, but they make up for it by being able to stay in the air a lot longer. So while kamikaze drones are all about flying far and blowing up, UCAVs are more like the workhorses. They can loiter, spy, and drop bombs, all while being controlled by someone far away. It's a different approach, but one that's useful for certain missions. The Block 4 Tomahawk cruise missile is a great example of what these missiles can do. It can fly 1,600 kilometers at a speed of 880 kilometers per hour. That's pretty fast for a missile. Not supersonic, but not slow. It's powered by a turbofan engine that pushes with a force of 3.1 kilonewtons. That engine keeps it in the air for around 2 hours. This missile is not lightweight. When it's fully loaded, it weighs 1,588 kilograms. And a big chunk of that, 450 kilograms, is the warhead. That's the boom at the end. Size-wise, it's 6.25 meters long. The wingspan isn't huge, just 2.67 meters. That's because it's built for speed, not for hanging around in the air for a long time. The IAI Harop is a good example of a loitering munition. It can fly 1,000 kilometers, But it's not as fast as the Tomahawk. It tops out at 190 kilometers per hour. But here's the thing, it can stay in the air for 6 hours, triple what the Tomahawk can do. That's thanks to its Wankel engine, which puts out 37 horsepower. All that time in the air means it can hunt for targets. It's a lot lighter than the other two drones we looked at. Fully loaded, it weighs just 135 kilograms, and its warhead is 23 kilograms. So it's light, but it still packs a punch. Size-wise, it's 2.5 meters long with a 3-meter wingspan. That shape helps it fly efficiently, but also loiter around when it needs to. So while it can't fly as fast as the Tomahawk, the Harop makes up for it with longer flight time and good loitering ability. It's built to hang around, find a target, and then dive in for the kill. The MQ-1 Predator UCAV can fly 1,100 kilometers. It tops out at 217 kilometers per hour. The engine is a 115 horsepower Rotax 914F. It's a beast. Keeps the drone up for 24 hours straight. Fully loaded, this thing weighs 1,020 kilograms. It can carry 204 kilograms of weapons. We're talking Hellfire missiles, Griffin missiles, serious hardware. The Predator is 8.2 meters long. The wings are 16.8 meters wide. That's what gives it all that airtime. Leaves room for plenty of sensors too. So yeah, the Predator goes far, goes fast, and hits hard. It's a force to be reckoned with in the sky. These three systems represent distinct approaches to unmanned aerial weapons technology. Each system addresses specific operational requirements in modern warfare, with selection depending on mission parameters, target characteristics, available infrastructure, and budgetary constraints. While almost any UAV could be piloted to crash into a target, and most could be modified with improvised explosive warheads, their main purpose is different. UAVs and UCAVs are typically designed for recoverable operations, such as reconnaissance or carrying munitions. One example of a purpose-built loitering munition is the NCSIST Qianxiang, a system designed for one-time use. They are built to reach the target area and strike with precision before self-destructing. These munitions are designed with characteristics that favor a short engine lifespan, silent operation during the strike, and a quick, effective dive. Their focus is on loitering time rather than range or speed, making them ideal for one-off missions. The primary advantage of loitering munitions is their low unit cost, which makes them suitable for disposable missions. Unlike UAVs, which are multi-use platforms with higher costs, loitering munitions are specifically engineered for expendable use, making them an economical and effective solution for precise strikes. This unique design allows for specialized missions where cost and effectiveness are paramount, ensuring that the munition serves its purpose without the need for recovery or reuse. The use of loitering munitions that can decide to attack on their own without human control raises big moral, ethical, and legal problems. Unlike regular fire-and-forget missiles, which are aimed at specific targets, these systems make their own decisions without a human deciding when to strike. This lack of human involvement, especially when it comes to dangerous attacks, makes people worry about who is responsible if something goes wrong and if targets are wrongly hit. This issue has become a major topic in discussions about international law. Unlike other guided weapons that acquire targets after launch or use sensor-based triggering, autonomous loitering munitions feature significantly extended flight duration, enabling independent target acquisition. Traditional missiles typically target areas with confirmed enemy presence, whereas loitering munitions are deployed to regions with potential enemy activity, conducting prolonged surveillance and target identification operations that may extend for hours. Although some systems may request final authorization from a human operator before attacking, the decision-making process is largely automated, raising concerns over control and the potential for unintended consequences. The IAI Harpy and IAI Harop are often mentioned in discussions about autonomous loitering munitions. These systems are among the pioneers in setting standards for autonomous flight and targeting functions in aerial systems. These drones last longer and work more independently than typical cruise missiles. They can wait in an area, look for targets, and decide when to attack without a person directly controlling them. While not exactly like naval mines, they represent a big step forward in how long and how well autonomous weapons can operate. As military technology advances, the ethical concerns surrounding autonomous loitering munitions continue to spark heated discussions. These drones' ability to make their own decisions on the battlefield challenges current systems of accountability and raises tough questions about the future of warfare. As these powerful technologies become a part of modern military tactics, it will be essential to carefully balance efficiency, control, and the protection of human life moving forward. From its inception, the Russian Su-57 stealth fighter caused quite a stir. Its advanced capabilities have raised concerns in other nations, including the United States. As Russia's first fifth-generation stealth aircraft, the Su-57's performance has been compared to the F-22 Raptor, one of the United States' most formidable fighters. But can the Su-57 match or even surpass the capabilities of Western aircraft? In a dogfight, would the Su-57 have the upper hand over the F-22? Or would the American fighter remain dominant? Join us as we explore the insane capabilities of Russia's $273 million stealth jet, which will destroy the West. The Su-57, Russia's advanced fifth-generation stealth fighter, has sparked significant debate since the first day. As the successor to the iconic flanker and a product of over a decade of development, it has drawn mixed reactions. While it represents advanced Russian aviation, some in the West argue it is merely a derivative design. Despite being positioned as the future of the Russian Air Force, only a limited number have been produced, raising questions about its viability. Stealth aircraft became a priority for military powers during the 1980s, with the United States leading the way through the Advanced Tactical Fighter program that ultimately produced the F-22 Raptor. However, misconceptions persist about stealth technology. Contrary to popular belief, stealth does not render an aircraft invisible to radar. Instead, it minimizes detection time, delaying an enemy's ability to achieve a radar lock. This principle underpins the designs of the F-22, an air dominance fighter meant to neutralize threats before adversaries can respond, and the B-2 bomber, built to evade defenses and penetrate deep into enemy territory. With the Su-57, Russia aimed to combine stealth with maneuverability, promising an aircraft capable of countering Western advancements. But is it an underestimated game changer or merely overestimated propaganda? In response to emerging technologies in military aviation, Russia adopted a different approach, prioritizing high performance over stealth. This philosophy led to the launch of their fifth-generation jet program, known as the MFI. The program aimed to develop a competent aircraft with moderate radar cross-section reduction. This effort culminated in the creation of the MiG-1.44, which ultimately failed, showing the broader challenges Russia faced during the 1990s. Despite the MFI program's shortcomings, Sukhoi took the initiative to independently design a next-generation fighter, resulting in the S-37 Berkut. This self-funded project was a technological demonstrator, showcasing advanced capabilities, including its iconic forward-swept wing design. The S-37 symbolized a vision for the future of the Russian Air Force, inspiring further innovation. By the early 2000s, following the MFI's failure, the Russian government launched a new program called the PAK-FA, also known as the Prospective Airborne Complex of Frontline Aviation. Sukhoi and Mikoyan had very different strategies for the PAK-FA competition. Mikoyan suggested a team effort where three design bureaus, Mikoyan, Sukhoi, and Yakovlev, would work together, with the winner leading the project. On the other hand, Sukhoi wanted to lead the entire project from the start, including everything from design to production, working closely with suppliers and research teams. Their aircraft designs also showed different priorities. Mikoyan's prototype was smaller and cheaper, weighing 16 to 17 tons and powered by two Klimov VK-10EM engines with about 10 to 11 tons of thrust each. Sukhoi's T-50 was bigger and more powerful, weighing 22 to 23 tons and using two AL-41F1 engines with 14.5 tons of thrust each. In April 2002, Sukhoi won the competition and became the lead designer for Russia's next-generation fighter. The Ministry of Defense chose Sukhoi for its strong proposal and its proven track record in creating Su-27 variants and successful exports during the 1990s. Flight tests were expected to begin in 2007. However, its production has faced numerous delays, highlighting ongoing challenges in fulfilling this ambitious vision. Russia's fifth-generation fighter jet remained secret for years, sparking intense debates on military forums, blogs, and news outlets. However, the veil was lifted in 2010 When the first images and videos of the Su-57, previously known as the T-50, emerged, the footage showcased the aircraft's maiden flight, captivating the media. Critics quickly dismissed it as an imitation of the F-22 Raptor. But the truth lies somewhere in between. The Su-57 stands out as a unique platform with distinct design choices. While its wing shape may resemble American fifth-generation fighters, the resemblance ends there. Unlike the F-22 or F-35, the Su-57 incorporates design elements from the flanker series, such as engines housed in gondolas and a tunnel structure between them, enhancing lift and maneuverability. The aircraft's canted vertical stabilizers reduce radar visibility, a crucial feature for stealth, and function as control surfaces, a concept reminiscent of the YF-23. This American prototype was lost to the F-22. Interestingly, the Su-57's nose section resembles the YF-23's naval variant concept, the NF-23, more closely than the Raptor. Additionally, the Su-57 integrates horizontal stabilizers and leading-edge root extensions, which act like canards during flight to maximize maneuverability. These design choices highlight its focus on agility and versatility. From its prototype stages onward, the Su-57 has demonstrated a blend of innovation and inspiration, solidifying its position as a distinctive and formidable aircraft. From its inception, the Su-57 has showcased a design philosophy centered on maneuverability and versatility, setting it apart as a unique player in fifth-generation fighter jets. Unlike the advanced stealth coatings of the F-35 and F-22, the Su-57 uses radar-absorbent materials sparingly, focusing on critical areas like hatches or sections prone to radar wave scattering. This limited application reduces the jet's radar cross-section by 20% to 90%, far from the exaggerated claims of massive reductions. While the Su-57 cannot match the stealth of its American counterparts, it's stealthy enough for Russian standards. Modern radars would still struggle to track a target with an RCS below 1 square meter. However, the Su-57's stealth effectiveness is hindered by its exposed engines in the rear, which likely results in a higher RCS compared to the F-35 and F-22. While some media criticize details like exposed screws, these aren't a significant factor, as even the F-35 and F-22 have similar features and maintain exceptional stealth capabilities. The real challenge for the Su-57 lies with its engines. Russia repeated a familiar Cold War mistake by starting the development of the aircraft before designing its intended engines. While other successful jets like the Rafale and Su-27 also began testing with interim engines, they quickly transitioned to their proper power plants. The Su-57, in contrast, still relies on engines not explicitly optimized for its design, limiting its full potential. The story of the Su-57's engine development is long and still unfinished. Currently, the Su-57 jets in production are powered by AL-41F1 engines, which are closely related to those used in the Su-35. While these engines are reliable and robust, they are not the original design and vision for the Su-57. Instead of being based on the AL-41FS developed for the older MFI program, they are adaptations of the older AL-31 engines. This means that unlike some fifth-generation fighters, the Su-57 may not achieve sustained supercruise, flying at supersonic speeds without afterburners when carrying a full combat load. For comparison, even the Su-35 can only achieve supercruise in a lighter configuration. On the bright side, the AL-41F1 engines feature 3D thrust vectoring, giving the Su-57 exceptional agility and maneuverability. The Su-57 is a formidable dogfighter with a thrust-to-weight ratio of over 1, even in combat configurations. However, modern air combat has shifted away from traditional dogfights, making this capability less critical in most scenarios. The future engine for the Su-57, called the TR-3B, is expected to bring substantial improvements. It's designed to enable supercruise at speeds up to Mach 1.5, incorporate serrated nozzles like the F-35's F-135 engine, and potentially introduce a flatter, stealthier nozzle design inspired by the S-70 Okhotnik drone. These upgrades aim to improve stealth and reduce the visible titanium areas affecting the Su-57's radar signature. However, it's unclear when these new engines will enter service. One of the Su-57's most promising developments is its collaboration with advanced drones like the S-70 Okhotnik. This wingman drone is far more focused on stealth, with a sleek design and large payload capacity. Working alongside the Su-57, these drones could change the dynamics of air combat. For instance, the Su-57 or an AWACS aircraft could identify enemy targets, while the S-70 drones engage them undetected. This teamwork could make the Su-57 and its drones a powerful offensive or defensive force. Russia is developing a new data link system called OZOD, similar to NATO's Link 16, to support this integration. This system would enable seamless communication between manned aircraft and drones, enhancing operational efficiency. The S-70 has undergone several successful test flights and continues to advance through its development phase, promising a significant leap in Russia's air combat capabilities. The Su-57, Russia's advanced fifth-generation fighter jet, is more than just a concept. It's a tangible project with prototypes in limited operational use. However, the ongoing war in Ukraine and the strain on Russia's military resources raise a critical question. Where will the funding come from to support such ambitious and costly projects? Initially, India partnered with Russia in 2007 to co-finance the Su-57's development under the PAC-FA program. In exchange, India would receive a two-seater variant and the rights to produce the aircraft domestically. However, the program faced significant setbacks, including delays caused by engine development challenges and the integration of entirely new avionics, radar systems, and sensors. Frustrated by these delays, India withdrew from the project in 2018. It retained the option to purchase the finished aircraft later, if it ever reached mass production and full operational capability within the Russian Air Force. Russia initially planned to produce 200 Su-57s, but drastically scaled back the goal to a single squadron of 12 aircraft. This number was later adjusted when, in 2017, a contract for 76 units was signed. Despite this, progress has been slow. To date, only around 10 Su-57s are reportedly in operational service. The Su-57 has allegedly been used for testing in Syria and even deployed in the war in Ukraine. Reports suggest it may have engaged in air-to-air combat, with claims of a possible kill against a Ukrainian Su-27. However, these claims remain unverified and fall into the realm of speculation. Funding, production delays, and operational challenges continue to overshadow the Su-57's development, raising doubts about the project's future viability amidst Russia's current economic and military constraints. This conflict has been as much about propaganda as it has been about military advancements, creating the impression that the Su-57 is a game-changing aircraft in combat is a powerful tool for Russia to appeal to potential buyers worldwide. However, it's crucial to approach such claims with caution and a critical mindset. Now, addressing the big question, how would the Su-57 fare against America's finest? The F-22 Raptor or the F-35 Lightning II? Let's delve into its capabilities, focusing on its electronics and weaponry. The Su-57 is equipped with the advanced NO-36 Belka AESA radar system, which consists of 5 distinct antennas. The primary X-band antenna provides long-range detection and target engagement capabilities. 2 additional X-band antennas on the sides enhance coverage, extending to approximately 270 degrees. Furthermore, 2 L-band antennas integrated into the wings support electronic warfare functions, broadening its defensive capabilities. At the front of the aircraft, there's the infrared search and track system. This system can detect thermal signatures from enemy aircraft and guide infrared missiles without needing the radar. It is similar to the electro-optical targeting system on the F-35. Notably, this is an advantage over the F-22 Raptor, which lacks a comparable IRS system, though future upgrades might address this gap. The Su-57 also incorporates sensor fusion, where its onboard computer integrates data from multiple sensors to improve the pilot's situational awareness. While this is a step forward, it doesn't match the advanced capabilities of the F-35 distributed aperture system and the helmet-mounted display, which offer unparalleled situational awareness and targeting accuracy. One notable drawback of the Su-57 is the absence of an integrated targeting pod, unlike the F-35. The F-35 can engage ground targets using its internal systems while maintaining its stealth profile. a significant advantage in modern combat scenarios. So to conclude the comparison, the Su-57 is a formidable aircraft with features that outpace fourth-generation and even advanced fourth-plus generation fighters. However, in a head-to-head comparison with the F-22 or F-35, it falls short in several key areas, particularly stealth and electronic warfare systems. While impressive in its own right, it remains a step behind its Western counterparts. The Su-57 is undoubtedly a remarkable fighter, but what lies ahead for this program? While the Su-57 isn't flawless, it does showcase strong capabilities. It features advanced radar and avionics, respectable stealth attributes, and powerful engines, though these engines have yet to meet the originally planned specifications. The anticipated Su-57M upgrade is expected to include these improvements, along with advanced systems. However, futuristic elements like autonomous drones remain largely conceptual for now. In combat scenarios, the Su-57 poses a significant challenge. Equipped with R-37M long-range missiles capable of striking targets over 200 kilometers away, it could potentially engage adversaries like the F-22 and F-35 before being detected. Russia envisions the Su-57 as a command aircraft, leading jet teams to enhance battlefield surveillance and support. However, the program faces substantial hurdles. Current production numbers are low, with only 10 to 15 operational Su-57s and an order for 76 more. Even with these, the fleet falls short of matching the U.S. F-22 inventory and the extensive fleet of over 1,000 F-35s deployed by the U.S. and NATO forces. Interestingly, while debates often pit the Su-57 against Western fighters, the Chinese J-20 may represent a more immediate concern for the U.S. With its serial production and growing numbers, the J-20 could more effectively challenge the balance of power than the Su-57. The J-20 stealth fighter is designed to dominate the skies with cutting-edge technology. Its advanced sensors and data systems give the pilot a complete view of the battlefield while using stealth and electronic warfare to keep enemies in the dark. The aircraft has a suite of sensors that provide a 360-degree view, and its nose-mounted systems are tailored for detecting and engaging air threats. Though exact details about its radar remain secret, experts believe the J-20 uses a high-performance AESA radar capable of tracking targets up to 200 kilometers away and engaging multiple enemies simultaneously. It also includes electro-optical targeting systems and infrared sensors, similar to those on the F-35, making it especially effective against stealthy opponents. Pilots enjoy a fully digital setup inside the cockpit with a massive touchscreen display, additional auxiliary screens, and a wide-angle holographic HUD for critical data. The helmet-mounted display lets pilots aim and fire weapons by looking at the target, even at extreme angles. Recent reports suggest the J-20 is also capable of airborne early warning and control, further boosting its versatility. With all these features, the J-20 blends stealth, precision, and cutting-edge avionics into one formidable package. The J-20 fighter jet is designed to carry advanced weapons for various missions. Its primary weapons bay can hold long-range air-to-air missiles like the PL-15 and PL-21, as well as precision-guided bombs such as the LS-6 series. Two smaller side bays near the air intakes are made for short-range missiles like the PL-10. These side bays are built for stealth, letting the doors close quickly before firing, making launches faster and harder to detect. The central bay can fit up to 4 long-range missiles, while the side bays each hold 1 short-range missile. By 2023, reports suggested China was working to boost the J-20's missile capacity. A new staggered setup could allow 6 PL-15 missiles to fit internally, and a slimmer missile called the PL-16, designed with folded fins and a compact frame, is also in development. Despite its smaller size, the PL-16 matches the PL-15 in performance. The J-20's primary mission is air combat, using missiles to take down enemy aircraft and critical aerial targets. It might also handle precision strikes with air-to-ground weapons or anti-radiation missiles. While its wings can carry extra fuel tanks or larger weapons like the PL-17, this would reduce its stealth, so it's not the jet's primary role. Interestingly, the J-20 doesn't have an internal cannon, hinting at its focus on long-range battles rather than close dogfights. Its design prioritizes precision and power when hitting targets from afar. The J-20 stealth fighter is designed with a brilliant mix of features to reduce its radar visibility. Its shape uses canard wings paired with smooth extensions near the leading edges to scatter radar waves effectively. The sleek forebody, radar-friendly canopy, and specialized materials help it achieve stealth like the F-22. Its air inlets, called DSI, are cleverly designed to hide the engine from radar, while also being lightweight and simple. The J-20's weapons bay has flat bottoms, doors have jagged edges, and cooling vents have mesh covers to improve stealth further. While some argue that using canards could hurt its stealth, experts point out that canards can work with low observable designs, as seen in other stealth aircraft. Advanced flight controls and careful engineering make them viable for stealth. The aircraft also uses composite materials and radar-absorbing paint. During peacetime, a special reflector makes it visible to other planes, enhancing safety and reducing training risks. This reflector can be removed in combat. Over time, the J-20 has evolved to include better engines and stealth-enhancing features, especially in its newer models. While its rear stealth isn't as advanced as the F-35, its front-facing stealth is impressive and better than the Su-57. Analysts believe the J-20 can use its stealth to strike targets in cluttered airspaces, showing it's a serious player in modern air combat. In a nutshell, the J-20 is formidable. The future of the Su-57 is uncertain, especially given the pressures on Russia's defense industry due to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Nonetheless, its design and the F-22 will likely influence the development of next-generation fighter aircraft for years to come. Despite criticisms, the Su-57 remains an impressive platform, hinting at the potential change of the future of aerial warfare. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.